Okay, in the last section we covered distribution, and now you should be at the point where you can distribute an app in the iTunes with iTunes connected into the App Store. So now, does it end there? No, of course not. Um, putting an app into the App Store is a great achievement, but you want to get users and you want to get app installs. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at the marketing piece of it, because just because you've developed the app, you put it in the App Store, and you've handled all of those steps, things don't stop there. Because if you think people are just going to go on the App Store and download your app and use it, probably not. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at the marketing possibilities that are out there, and in this lesson, particularly, we're going to look at app installs. And an app install is when someone downloads your app to their phone, and we're going to look at the good and the bad of that. So, conventional wisdom as far as digital marketing an app has always been to create a website. And I have several. I have right here, this is one for my company, admetal.net. And you can see that I have a number of apps here, and I'm using a WordPress theme that allows you to put in up to, I think, 6 or 8 different apps. And so this is the list of apps. And so here they can click on the app, and it's basically very similar to the same information that's in the App Store. They can come down here and they can share it. They can click on this, and that will actually take them to the App Store to download it. Now that all seems great. Well, let's see how that works. So I'm going to do that, and it's going to open up in iTunes, and I can download it right here to my computer. Okay, but does that really make a whole lot of sense? Yeah, let's take a look at that, because when someone downloads your app, you want them to be able to use it on their phone and not have to go through extra steps to do that. So if I were to download it this way in iTunes, I'd have to then connect my phone and then download it on my phone. Well, someone may find your app online and they might download it that way, but they may forget to hook up their phone and put it on the phone. I don't even update my phone by connecting it to the computer. So, and I imagine most people are saying, well, you typically do it wirelessly. So what you want to be careful with is that in your marketing, you want to make sure that you are getting the type of app installs you want. You want them to find it on their phone and download it on their phone. And I'll show you why. If we come over here to iTunes Connect, and I'm going to come to Sales and Trends. It just takes just a second to load up. Now you can see here, this is pretty decent analytics by Apple. And this is for all the sales recently from November 20 and November 26. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for the full year. I'm going to go for all of 2016 so far. Just give it a second to load up. And it will list all my apps here that have been downloaded. And you can see the highest number is with Breakpoint. But let's check out the device, because that's really quite important. Now, I want you to look at this. I've had 27 iPad, I've had 32 desktop, and 47 iPhone. Okay, now, the desktop. You know what that is? That is someone downloading it from the web to iTunes, and then they need to go in and connect their device and put it on their device. So you can see a large amount have been iPhone, but that's a very high number. I mean, that's a really huge number of apps that are being downloaded that may not be being used. Because if we come back and we look at the content, and we look at Breakpoint, and I click on that. and I go back to device, 15 are through the desktop. So yes, my marketing through the website was actually pretty good, but these are all downloads and app installs from someone going on a web page. And because people typically don't go on a web page and look for apps on their phone, they do it through the App Store and through other apps. They see an advertisement, or through social media, which we'll talk about in a second. Clearly, that's not really the realm you want to get into, because these are 15 potential users that I can have using the app, that are probably not using it because it was downloaded through the website. So again, this is kind of a pitfall of initially creating a website. We'll talk about this more in a second. Now let's come over here and let's take a look at social media, because here's another website I have, and I actually have a couple. Here, I'll go ahead and show you all my websites. And that didn't come up quite like it was supposed to. Let's try that again. There we go. And this is so what I did is I had a company website. Whoops, that's right here. Oops. Oh, I must have erased that. But that's all right. Anyway, so I have several websites. And let's come back to that. And this is the one we want to go back with. Okay, so you can see here, I had my company website where I listed all the apps, and that or most of them. And I got, I haven't added Swift deliveries in yet, which that took time to work with it. Even though it is WordPress, it does take a little bit of time to set that up, and there is some cost involved. You have to purchase a domain name, you have to pay for hosting, so on and so forth. So not only is it a time-consuming process, it can be an expensive process, and may not get you the app installs you really want. Now, do I think that at some point every app should have its own website? Sure. But it may not be the first step you want to take, and I'm going to show you why. Now, let's come over here to my Twitter account. And again, Twitter is completely free. And the great thing about Twitter is you can post things and you can connect stuff from other social media accounts, from websites. So for instance, if I post something on my website, then it will I've got it set to automatically come here. So like right here, I have a YouTube channel, and I had it automatically set up to post to my Twitter page. And that's a great way to use social media, is to piggyback off of each other. You have one account that sends it to other things, so you can push content really very easily without having to build a website and pay for hosting and so on and so forth. So here's another YouTube post, and here's, like, now for instance, when I put in some updates to Breakpoint back on October 7th, updates to Breakpoint not available, I used the hashtag iOS and tennis recruiting. Now let's click on those and see what we come up with. So then you come up with all these suggestions of stuff and posts and all so on and so forth. And so anyone who is following that hashtag is a good chance that they're going to see that that post. Now let's click on the tennis recruiting one. So again, you get all this stuff here on tennis recruiting. And so using the hashtag, it's really a form of SEO, and which is search engine optimization. And if you are going to develop a website, you're going to need to know SEO. That's another learning curve you're going to have. This is very simple. I just used the hashtag tennis recruiting, and you see right here where I put in a post about the app being compliant with NCAA regulations, and it shows up in the feed. So anyone who is subscribed to that, who's following tennis recruiting, um, is going to probably see that post. And so that's a great way to reach hundreds, if not thousands, of people, um, and very simple to do compared to going through the process of creating a website, uploading content to it, and constantly trying to um, push content. And you have to constantly push content if you want to show up in search results. Otherwise, the search engines are not going to really put you very high up in there. And so that's why I talk about the recruiting or the learning curve associated with that. So you see right here, this is another great way to again to promote your app. And in fact, sometimes you can even do, see right here, an advertisement, and we'll get into that later on in this section, where Google Cloud is advertising for something, cloud credit or something like that. Let's scroll on down and see if we come across any app recommendations. Usually they have them in here somewhere. And I have done both advertisements through Twitter and through Facebook, and we'll certainly dive into that in the next couple of lessons. But as you can see, it's real easy to use Twitter and Facebook and those kind of things versus what I would have to do for something to create this. There's so many more steps involved. You're not going to get the app installs you truly want, because chances are people are going to install it and not use it. Now, I'm not saying don't create a website. My advice to you is to start with social media first, then get your website up and running after you've gotten a good amount of users. I honestly wasted a lot of time developing 3 or 4 different websites trying to push content, and really did I get app installs? Yes, I did. But the app installs, as you saw from the analytics, were not the type of app installs I wanted. There are 30 app installs out there that people probably aren't using my apps. And, that would have been a big deal for me, because my apps are not designed for hundreds of thousands of people. For instance, this app right here, Breakpoint, was designed for 1,000 people. So, 30 people would have made a big difference. And that may be coaches who downloaded it off the web, and maybe they don't have an Apple device or whatever. But again, that hurts your engagement because you don't have those people using your app. And if someone's going to download your app, you want them to use it and install it on their device. Okay, so this has been app installs, websites versus social media, and I definitely recommend number one step is to create a social media account for all your apps. So if you're putting an app into the App Store, you might even want to do it pre-submission. This is where, if we come back over here to our demo app, and just if you go into pricing and availability, let's see, come down here. The point where it says automatically release this version or manually release this version. This is a good place to select manually release this version, because you can get some pre-launch advertisement out there through social media. And again, I certainly recommend creating a social media account for all of your apps, and have one for Twitter and one for Facebook. Have a YouTube channel, which we're going to get into later, and a blog, because a blog is the way you can push content to all your social media channels without having to go through the process of building a website. Okay, so in the next lesson, we will set up a Twitter account and show you why I like Twitter so much and how you can set up multiple accounts through Twitter. All right, see you then.